Hello and welcome. My name is Catherine Walters, and I'm the host of the Joyful You Telesummit. And in my business, Guided Change, where I'm an intuitive healer and joy coach, I help people who are stressed and overwhelmed experience a sense of peace, balance, happiness, and joy. And I'm so excited, for I have gathered 22 absolutely amazing experts who are here to share their tools and techniques that they've used not only on themselves, but they've used with others that they work with so that people can experience more positivity, vitality, play, happiness, fun, and joy. Now today, joining me, I have Roger Laidig. And Roger retired from his 30-year career at Laidig Incorporated. And this is a global manufacturing and construction company, and Roger was his senior vice president. Now, Roger also wrote a book since he's retired. I love the title of this, called Finding Purpose and Joy. It's a Journey. He's here to share his expertise on this topic and help all of us experience more happiness and joy. So welcome, Roger. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's an honor. You are truly a gift. From our conversations prior to this, you really are a gift to the world. So thank you for all that you are and be. So Roger, I got to ask this. Now, I believe you have a background as an engineer.
Yes.
Okay. So here you are. You were an engineer, a businessman. How did your book about finding purpose and joy come to be?
Well, that's a really interesting question because, as you said, I am an engineer by degree. But 3 years after I started my engineering career, I realized that's not what I wanted to do all my life. I wanted to be with people. And so I moved into different forms of supervision and management. I built 30 homes and into construction, and then I managed a real estate firm with 30 sales agents. But ultimately, it led me to our family business, Laidig Incorporated, that I joined back in over 30 years ago. And it was there that I got to use all the different things that I had accumulated. I used my engineering background, my manufacturing background, construction, and sales background. They were all needed to form a new division of our company, the industrial division. But as I started going through life, I realized I like people. And I was turned on more by helping people find who they are and trying to get them in their sweet spot, even at work, so that they could just be themselves and live it out. Even with our salesmen, I didn't require them all to use the same approach, but rather try to tailor it to their own personalities so that they didn't have to conform to somebody they weren't. They could just be who they were and excel that way. And as the years passed, that drawing to people kind of combined with, I had a heart attack in 1999, and it really changed my view of the world.
Mm-hmm, sure.
I thought, how do I want to finish my life off? And it caused me to really start thinking it's more about relationships than it is about things or buildings or engineering or manufacturing. And that started me realizing my own family was not where it should be. Mm. And my wife and I we were never going to get divorced, but we were virtually divorced under the same roof. And our boys, they were good boys, but we didn't have a good relationship. And all this really made me sad that here at my own home, we weren't having what we needed. And so that's the divine put me on my knees to virtually beg for guidance because I couldn't do it on my own. And so in brief, that's kind of what led me from engineering, construction, manufacturing and engineering to being people oriented.
Wow. Well, I mean, well, 30 years to do that and to wrap it up so briefly, I mean, good job, because it's very difficult to do that. But I love how you said about helping people find their sweet spot, and also allowing the people that your employees in whatever capacity, whether sales or to do it kind of like their way, to bring their own spin on it. So then going from your family, like, how did you start? The book came from there. So how did you start to put it all together?
Well, it really started on Father's Day in 1999 after my heart attack. I started really thinking about what do we want, what do I hope that our family looks like 10 years down the road, 20, 30 years down the road. And I knew we were not on the right path. So I asked my family, my wife and our 2 boys, for Father's Day, I don't want any gifts. I would just like 3 hours of your time. And so we journeyed from Mishawaka, Indiana, 100 miles over to Chicago and spent a weekend there. And over Old Chicago pizza, while we were waiting for the pizza, which took a long time, I just asked them, what are some things you'd like to see in our household, in our home, that would make you enjoy it? Things that would cause you to want to invite your friends over. What kind of things would you like to see that if you have problems, you would feel comfortable coming home and talking about them? And we just had an open dialogue about that, and I started jotting notes down. And then that actually became the first step of my book later on, and that was picturing where you want to go and develop a vision, a clear vision of who you want to become. And so I started writing a personal mission statement, and then I started asking the family to give their contributions of what they'd like to see in our family mission statement. And over a period of time, we refined it and blessed it, in essence. And we weren't there, but that started us on the journey of moving toward the kind of home that we wanted to have and the kind of relationships we wanted to have.
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, I love how you had this wake up call with the heart attack, of course, and you didn't just like let it go. You got it. You really got the message. Okay, here, how do I want to live the rest of my life? And you started really deeply reflecting. And then you got your family involved because you realized that connection, that those relationships, not just at work, but the relationships at home were actually even more important than the relationships at work.
Yes.
And you did something about it. You took action. And then you started having this, so can you share a little bit about what was in your vision? Because I think a lot of times, like, people don't, I mean, we talk about vision boards and vision statements and all of that, but what is it? Can you?
Yeah. The vision it was not about what kind of jobs we were going to have or anything like that. It was about how we're going to treat each other and the kind of character that we want to have and the kind of love that we want to have and forgiveness that we want to have, so that it was a safe environment that we could trust each other. Because I'm a firm believer that the foundation of love is trust.
Absolutely.
Without trust, there's not love. So the mission statement is really around building trust and being honest with each other and with other people that we come in contact with.
Right.
Character.
Right. And those are like, it goes back to that, your building background, in that, that's your foundation.
Yes, it's the foundation.
It's trust and forgiveness and honesty and creating that safe environment, which, of course, when you're building something, you create a safe building. So yes. You were doing that you were utilizing what you knew, but putting it into something that's not actually, you're building a new relationship.
Yes, that's exactly right.
With your family. Oh, wonderful. Oh, so Roger, you have a quote in the book that I would love to, I'm going to read it for everyone, and then I'd love to have you just share about it. So it says, "Today is not your destination. It's the first day of the rest of your life." So how does that help us to experience more purpose and joy?
Well, if we evaluate where we're at this very minute, a good question to ask ourselves is, how is life going? Are we stumbling right now? Are we having anxieties or problems? And most people are in busy world, and it's kind of a rat race and that kind of thing. But the important thing to realize is we don't have to stay there. That's just where we're at today. But if we get a clear vision of where we want to start heading and make good choices, it helps us prioritize our choices so that we know what good choices are. And so today is not our destination. It's the first day of the rest of our lives. And by choice, we can help determine what that will look like. Obviously, there will be divine intervention, but we're still given minds and to understand and hearts and so we can be part of that. And what it does is it takes a person from a point of hopelessness to a point of hope where they can take responsibility for their lives. I think that's really important, not to be a victim, but to realize we can take responsibility and make good choices for a better future.
I almost want to say, Roger, it's not only that we can take responsibility, but it's really that's where our power is.
It is.
Power of our choice. And it's like, it's the divine have placed us here, but it's up to us. It is our responsibility to live our life to the fullest, to live with purpose, to live with joy and purpose, and experiencing joy, experiencing a sense of purpose. They are a choice.
Absolutely are. Yes.
It's you can and I also realized yesterday, so like one of my ahas doesn't quite fit with this topic, but I realized abundance is a choice.
It is.
And everything is a choice, and that's our power. And so even responsibility is a choice, but it's that we don't have to. We're either choosing to be a victim or we're choosing to be victorious.
Exactly. Yep.
And it's our responsibility. What do you want?
That's what it boils down to.
Okay, awesome. I love it. So I've worked with children, and when you either at a playground or in a school or whatever, pretty much when things are going well, children are happy and joyful. And I don't know if you have grandchildren or not, but I know you've been around kids, you had boys of your own. So I guess my question is, in your opinion, do people have to be a certain age? Do we have to get to retirement before we can find our purpose and our joy? Or, when does it matter by age?
It really doesn't matter by age, but really more by experiences in life, from my observation. Like you said, when things are going good for people, or they haven't hit enough roadblocks, they just kind of live life as it comes. And for most people, and there are exceptions, but for most people, they don't get aha moments or moments where they want to learn until they stub their toe or bloody their nose enough to where they say, something's got to change. I don't want to keep living the way I'm living. And a lot of times the people that I mentor, when they're at their lowest point, I tell them, you may not understand this today, but you're at the best place you could possibly be, because you're the horse that's come to the water, but now you want to drink. And nobody learns until they're ready to learn. And sometimes it takes these events in our life to cause us to say, okay, I'm ready to learn. I'll be humble.
Right.
And so it's more, not a specific age, but it's kind of life, how life has treated us and how we're responding to it.
Exactly. I mean, I know I talked about this in the introduction to our Joyful You Summit, where when I was 25, 26, my mother passed. And that was a huge stumbling block. Whoa, I wasn't ready for that. Didn't see that coming. And so, it really did fall down, but that wasn't the lowest point of my life. But still, it was it's those, we hear the expression my mom used to always use, the school of hard knocks. But if we're going to learn, life is going, and this kind of goes to my next question about, these curveballs or these, the school of hard knocks type with life, where there is a family member who passes on, or an illness, or you lose a job or your business goes, kaflooey or whatever happens. So how do people stay in joy then, Roger? What do you recommend?
Well, we all do have different personalities and different temperaments, so I can't give a magic formula, but what I will say is that there is always something that we are able to do in times of crisis. But there are also a lot of times there are things that we have no control over. And so what I would say is, kind of reverting back to taking responsibility, we should take responsibility of the things that we can do to better the situation. And those things that we can do nothing about, that's where it really takes faith in the divine or God or whatever your spiritual higher being is, that God has a plan, that the divine has a plan. And when we can trust that, it gives us peace that comes beyond understanding. But what really helps is when we're in those spots, if we can be thankful for what we do have rather than focus negatively on what we don't have.
Oh, it fascinates me. I bet I could go through every single one of these interviews, and we're almost to the end now, and I bet every speaker at some point has said something about gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude and forgiveness. I absolutely know gratitude. I absolutely know gratitude is in every conversation that I've had with people. So obviously the divine is really showing us that be grateful for what you have. Focus on what's going well. Focus on what's good. And instead of focusing on those things that you can't control, because you're absolutely right. In those challenging situations, there are things you can do. And then there are other things that there's a lot of life. I mean, we are not in control here.
Right.
It's the illusion that we're in control, but even if you own a business, you're still not in control. And so it's letting that go to some sort of higher power, however it is that you do. So any other recommendations for people? I mean, I love those, but anything else? Or is there a way, a question I often get, and I'll pass this one on to you. I'm throwing it out there on you, is how do you trust and have faith in the divine?
Well, that gets back to the individual too. For me, I have seen, when I look back over my life, I have seen how the divine has brought me through situations that I never, ever could have got through on my own. And my heart attack, I was in a near-death accident that I was spared any injury at all. My wife was cured of kidney disease. Just different things where I saw God's presence or the divine's presence that made me realize. And furthermore, when you look at the universe, the vastness of the universe, and all the different species and uniqueness and the DNA, that we each have different DNA. How can you not believe there's a higher power? Yeah. So for me, it's natural, but I know that doesn't come for everybody. But I would really encourage them to just think about all the unbelievably great things that are around us.
Exactly. It's that beauty. And I mean, I like to look at it as though this trust and this faith in the divine, it's like a muscle. Because I can remember when I was in my deepest moments of depression, even though I've been brought up Catholic, that didn't work for me anymore. Right. And I didn't have that really strong connection to God, to the divine. And so I'm like, okay, you better help me or else take me off this planet. Yep. And, very childish, but also, I was at my surrender point. I was like, I need help here. Yep. And it was that, taking a breath and just kind of feeling a sense of peace right in that moment. And then noticing the rain and the beauty that was around me and how everything was full of life. And it really is true that when the more you start to look for it, the more you exercise this faith trust muscle, like there is when you go to a gym and you work out, doing bicep curls or something like that, the more you see that, then the more you start really trusting and having faith. And then you just kind of like go for it. I mean, at least that's what I do. I have a feeling you use trust and faith in everything in your life.
I do. And interesting for people like what I think you and I are, we like to get things done. We're on the go. But what really kind of put me in my place on that was my heart attack that made me realize we need to be still sometimes too. And when we're still, that gives us time. For me, I would go to the river and I would watch the river flow over a dam, and it got really rough and chaotic. But as the river flowed, it became smooth. And that's kind of how life is. We go have some dams in our life and it gets really rough. But if we trust the divine, it will flow. And then I could look at the leaves and the trees and nature in its full beauty. And that's something I could never do before, but it required me to be still.
And that's an excellent point, because and that's something that's really important in our lives today, because everyone is so busy, really. Even children are busy. And so we need those moments of stillness and quiet. Like I was playing with my cat this morning, just being still, just snuggling up against him. And it was just that quiet. And and I knew that it did it purposely because I knew how busy I was going to be today. And that was going to fill me up for the day.
Yep.
Okay. So, Roger, I know you have a special free gift for everyone, and I can't wait to hear what it is.
Well, the book that I wrote, which maybe you can see a little bit of it here.
Oh, we can see it.
Finding Purpose and Joy. It is on Amazon as an ebook, but I will give a free ebook to anyone that there's a contact point. Email me, and I'll be happy to send them an ebook.
Okay.
Purpose and Joy. It's a journey.
That is so generous. Excuse me, so generous of you, because I know it's fab. I mean, just you can tell from that quote and from the little bit that I read about it on Amazon that it's a fabulous book, and you have such a wealth of wisdom that you so openly and vulnerably share with everyone in the book and here in our conversation as well. That it's really beautiful, because we know it comes from your heart, and it's the truth of who you are, and your whole essence just radiates that. So thank you so much, Roger, for being here today and sharing your. I mean, it's really very practical, going back to your engineering background, practical insights and truth of how we can live our lives with purpose and joy. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks again for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be back soon. Until then, namaste.